I believe that AMP during this bull run could hypothetically go to the price of 20 cents. And of course, that's not financial advice and that's not a guarantee. But the reason why is because I think it's very special. After all, it's created by both Flexa and as well as Consensus. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what are these two things you just mentioned? Now, Flexa is a crypto payments company. And when it comes to Consensus, it is a blockchain development enterprise. Now, the reason why AMP was even launched in the first place was because the original Flexa Coin smart contract could not be upgraded to meet the new demands that Flexa was looking for. So yeah, I think you get just how special AMP is, and its origin is actually very amazing. But of course, there's more, because shortly before AMP was launched, Flexa actually launched an app called SPEDN, which allowed users to pay at thousands of merchants using, various cryptocurrencies. So yeah, that's very amazing. However, with that being said, keep in mind, both AMP and Flexa, they're actually two separate technologies. But even besides that, it's even been noted that what makes Flexa different from other crypto payment services is the fact that crypto payments with Flexa are automatically converted into whichever fiat the merchant wants. And of course, these conversions from crypto to fiat are done through crypto exchanges that Flexa has partnered up with. So you get the distinction there when it comes to Flexa. A lot of other, competitors, I would say they don't automatically, again, convert. But then when it comes to Flexa, it does do that. So it's very amazing. And I really love that. And now with that being said, some people may be wondering, okay, where does AMP even play a role in all of this? Now hear this out, right? Because AMP, it does act as collateral for cryptocurrency transactions that are made through Flexa's payment protocol. Now let me give an example as to what I mean by this. Let's say someone wants to use a cryptocurrency through the SPEDN app to purchase something at a store. Let's say they walk inside a store, they buy it. Now what happens when they buy this product? When this transaction is made, it does take a certain number of confirmations in order for the merchant to know that the transaction is final. And in some cases, they can take some time. Now, also on top of that, for whatever reason, the transaction could fail. Now, the chances of it failing is actually very small. But even besides that, there's a possibility, right? Now, for instance, let's say there's a chain halt or a hard fork. You never know. That could be, of course, a complete caca disaster. But of course, this is where something like AMP steps in because, during this transaction, an amount of AMP that is slightly worth more than the transaction is temporarily locked up into a special smart contract. And again, this is done so that if, let's say, the transaction fails, it guarantees that the merchant will still get their entire payment nonetheless. And also on top of that, this does ensure that if, for instance, the crypto space overall is falling, or let's say, things are just crashing for whatever reason, then again, you get the benefit of that locked up AMP. The merchant was still guaranteed their payment nonetheless, even despite all that. And now some people may be wondering, okay, where's this locked up AMP coming from, right? This AMP is actually coming from users who are currently staking their AMP through payment providers who are leveraging Flexa's payment protocol. So yeah, that's, basically how AMP plays a role in all of this, and quite essentially its origin in a sense, because again, some people may be wondering, where's the, locked up AMP coming from? However, with that being said, there may be a hypothetical problem here, because some people, they may be wondering, okay, this, staked AMP that's being used as collateral, what happens if it keeps, having failed transactions and then they have to keep, selling AMP quite essentially? However, this actually hasn't been an issue because, to my understanding, allegedly, there has actually never been a failed transaction. And even if, let's say, there's like one or two failed transactions, let's say even like 10 a day, it's so minuscule in the grand scheme of things to the point that it wouldn't even make a big difference. So yeah, I think that should be taken into consideration. Granted, could transactions fail? Yes, but it hasn't happened allegedly. And also on top of that, if it were to happen even like 10 times a day, it wouldn't even have a big impact unless it's like, tens of thousands. But again, never happened. So I think it's safe. Now, not financial advice, but I think when it comes to AMP, it's very amazing, plays a very vital role. I think Flexa is very wonderful overall. And man, AMP at the price of 20 cents, I don't see why not. With that amazing of a use case, I don't think it's caca at all. I don't know why people like to say that, wow, AMP, it's so caca, it's so trash. Well, I completely disagree. Now, take this into consideration, right? When it comes to Flexa overall, I think they're focused on the right market. Because, for instance, the global crypto payment gateway market is predicted to be worth over $90 billion by 2028. Take this into consideration. We're so close to 2025, basically just months away. 2028, it's not even that far away. So when it comes to Flexa, they're clearly focused on the right market. And even if you take a look at the payments market, just generally speaking, globally, it's currently worth over $2 trillion as we speak. So that's insane. The GDP of Canada back in 2022 was around $2 trillion. So yeah, clearly, when it comes to Flexa, they're focused on the right thing. They're not focused on some random caca nonsense. That's not the case. They're actually a serious project, and I really love that. Now, take this into consideration. Again, AMP at the price of 20 cents, I don't think is insane, because if it were to go to that price, considering its current circulating supply, at that point, market cap would be around $16 billion, which is like so minuscule in the grand scheme of things, because, for instance, we've seen Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion of market cap back in 2021. So this isn't even 50% of that. Now, also on top of that, you take a look at Dogecoin. Doge at one point reached over, $80 billion in market cap. That's kind of insane. Now, am I saying that AMP has like the fans or hype of a Doge or a SHIB? I'm not saying that it does, but I think that this, if anything, showcases that, reaching over $16 billion of market cap in the world of cryptocurrencies, it doesn't necessarily have such a high bar. Now, also on top of that, you take a look at something like BNB. BNB at one point reached over $100 billion in market cap. I mean, what was that all about? You have to take into consideration how just last year, slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks that happened actually occurred on the BNB smart chain ecosystem. So yeah, that's not that great. Of course, again, this is according to Crypto.com research. You consider just how massive the crypto space is overall. That figure right there, slightly over 2%, that's terrible in my opinion. So something like BNB can reach over 100 billion. AMP can at least hypothetically go to around 16 billion. I don't see why not. Now, also on top of that, you take a look at so many bullish factors. The Bitcoin ETF, the number of institutional investors, it's just through the roof when it comes to Bitcoin. Also on top of that, you take a look at how there's currently over 600 million crypto owners, which at first glance, people may think, okay, it's not that impressive, but you take a look back in the peak of the 2021 bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. So now I think people are beginning to understand that, whoa, this figure is actually very impressive because it's practically double. If in 2021, with basically like 50% less crypto owners, the bull run already looked that amazing, could you imagine this time around, the buying pressure, the buying volume, the FOMO? I mean, it's going to be through the roof. But it's going to be a matter of time, in my opinion, because this type of stuff doesn't happen like today or like, 2 weeks ago or, in 2 weeks from now, because it typically, again, takes some time. As a worst case scenario, it's been noted that altcoins, historically speaking, have peaked around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, again, this worst case, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme. Could it happen sooner? Yes, but you never know. But even if, let's say, we use this worst case scenario, again, it's slightly over a year from right now, so it's actually not that bad. That's just the way I view it. Now, granted, when it comes to AMP, I'm never going to just dump all in, though, even despite that, because my strategy is actually very simple. And that way, the strategy that I'm using, it allows me to stay in the game, so to speak, long term. Because what I do is anytime I earn income, I acquire, I hold, and I just wait. That's it. Because the way I view it is that I don't want to resort to random nonsense, especially when it comes to any cryptocurrency that I own, like day trading, using leverage, or swing trading. That's just not my style. Also, on top of that, you take into consideration how, if let's say the price of AMP does dip, fine, then I still have more, fuel, so to speak, to accumulate, right? But then let's say it pumps, I don't miss out on it because I've been consistently just dollar cost averaging, and I really love that. And also, this does allow me to focus on things that are within my control, because if I start focusing on what happens to the price every 2 minutes, 2 hours, like 2 days, I'm going to just drive myself crazy, potentially. And I don't want to do that, which is why, again, I focus on things that I can control, like, being consistent, not giving up, my dedication, acquiring, believing. I can control that. Other than that, what can I really control, right? Again, that's the only thing I can control. Now, to also take this into consideration, imagine with all those amazing factors, if Bitcoin were to go to the price of $150,000, again, with the ETF, the number of institutional investors, could you imagine what happens to altcoins? They're going to go along with the ride. I mean, something like AMP, I think it's going to join that ride. And at the price of 20 cents, I don't see why not. I think it could be so incredible. And I think that Flexa is really underrated. I mean, oftentimes people like to say that, wow, when it comes to AMP, it's so caca, it's so trash. But take a look at AMP, months ago, right? The price did so well. Now it's having a pullback. The way I view it is that quite essentially, this is giving me a second chance. It's quite essentially like a time machine, because when AMP, had that pump, mini pump, I would say, not too long ago, everyone was like, oh man, we missed out on it. But then now the price is having a pullback. They're saying, oh wow, it's caca, it's trash, it's all this type of stuff. But I just don't get it, man. If I loved it a couple of months ago when the price was high, I'll love it even more right now when the price is low. But granted, I did acquire AMP even before it had that mini pump, so I've been believing in AMP for quite a while now. But even despite that, I'm still not giving up. I'm still acquiring, I'm still holding, and I'm still waiting because I believe in the future of AMP. I believe in the future of Flexa. I think that AMP is so special. I think this bull run also could be so special. And AMP at the price of 20 cents, again, during this bull run, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.